feeling today?
Right.
Feeling good, feeling great. Amen. So we've been talking about businessry, making a dollar while making a difference. We've been talking about how to develop, maintain, and maximize a successful businessry. The word businessry is a compound word, business and ministry. And when you put those two together, you have businessry. And so God created us to be people who are enterprising, people who are engaged in some type of business. And whatever type of business that is, there has to be ministry attached to it. It may not just be business in the sense of you creating a brick and mortar business. It could be business in the sense of you offering a service to someone, but you're getting paid as a result of that service. It could be you offering a product to someone and you being paid because of that product that you provide. Business is your service to the world. Ministry is your service to God. So it is important and for us to understand, number one, that God has called us to engage in both of them. And we started talking about business integrity and dignity last Sunday. And I want to pick up from there, from where we left off last Sunday. Now, we talked about Chrisette Michelle, how she was a rising R&B star. She was at the pinnacle of her career. And one bad decision just completely ruined her career. Her integrity and her dignity was on the line when she did that. And because she did it and she put herself in a position to where she was, in a sense, endorsing what he stood for, those who opposed it came against her. And so your brand is connected to your character and your integrity. And it is reflected also, and this is where I want to start back today because we didn't get a chance to really deal with this last Sunday. But your integrity and dignity is also reflected in your credit score. Your integrity and dignity is also reflected in your credit score. Now, I want to talk about this just for a minute because, you know, as black folk and as believers, sometimes we have our own little issues with credit. God is my credit. How will you tell them folk that at the bank? God is my credit. Well, you tell that to them people who you trying to get a car from. You know, God is my credit. Well, you tell that to the financial institution that you're trying to get a business loan from. You know, so we can be so spiritually minded. Look, let me tell you how spiritual we can be. I had created my own little quote that said, favor with God is better than A1 credit with the word. Look, that's a fact. But that ain't applicable if you when you fill out an application. You can't put on that A1 favor with God on the application. No, you have to know somebody who knows somebody to be able to use your favor. Because favor from God comes from favor of men. He gives you favor with other people. That's how he demonstrates his favor to you in those situations. And so we have to have a proper balance with our spirituality and with practicality. Amen? So we can't be so spiritual. Now, I'm not telling you not to be people of faith because you can't even please God without faith. I'm saying you got to apply faith. But at every instance in your life, you can't be going to God trying to exercise your faith because at some point your faith ought to produce some practical results and some practical information from your experiences that you can use. So I'm saying that, you know, every week we shouldn't be praying for a miracle. We ought to learn something through the process to be able to establish ourselves so that we don't have to continue to go through the same thing. See, you can be a good person and have bad credit. Bad credit doesn't make you a bad person. That's not what I'm saying. Bad credit does not make you a bad person. You can have a good heart but have bad credit. And it takes time and research. You don't have to, if you had the money to pay somebody, then that's fine. But sometimes it's just time and research. It's a matter of looking through your credit report and finding out the things that you can begin to start working on right now, right where you're at. So the journey to financial independence and a secure future begins with the knowledge and tools to support your personal and financial development. Many of our underserved communities across the country are in bondage because of predatory lending and low credit scores. See, some of us don't even know that we are prey to some financial institutions who are just looking for a quick buck. And so that's why we find check cashing stores in the underserved, low-income communities. We find title pawn stores. We find rent-to-own stores. We find payday loan stores. And see, when you don't have credit to go and get legitimate, go to a legitimate or corporation, then you have to surrender to going to these places. And I'm just saying, I used to. Every check cashing stores, I've used them, and they take a certain percentage of your money. But if you have a checking account, then you can just deposit your money to the bank. But some of us can't get a checking account because we owe the banks and we messed up our account. So then you have the second chance banking. Title pawn, rent-to-own store, done that. But here's the thing. When we began to work on our credit, we started paying off things. We started paying attention to paying things on time. We took the first steps. And so that's the part where God gets involved. Is that once you start doing your part, he'll get involved and he'll do his part. But he's not going to do his part if you don't first do your part. And we talked about that last week, the if-then. So not only the rent-to-own stores, but the payday loan stores. And here's the thing, this is how it breaks down. The predatory lending comes at you through the check cash, title pawn, rent-to-own, payday loan. And then what they place in the community is liquor stores and fast food restaurants. Because once you done spend all your money, you're up your neck in debt, your interest rates, they talking about coming to get your car, they talking about coming to get your furniture and your big widescreen TV. Now you got so much anxiety that you just want to eat it off and drink it off. And so they got the liquor stores and the chicken stores for you. That's why if you notice in the black communities, low income, low credit score communities, they got your Popeyes, they got your KFC, they got your churches, they got your Zaxby's, they got your Chick-fil-A's most of the time. But all of these places where you can go and eat yourself into a mess, health-wise. And if that ain't enough, after you drink and eat your body into a health crisis, they have pharmaceutical stores in the neighborhood. Your CVS, your Rite Aid, and your Walgreens. So now you got to try to medicate the problem. So we got to stay away from all of these places in order for us to put ourselves in a position to where we are able to move forward financially. And so the journey to financial independence and a secure future begins with the knowledge and tools to support your personal and financial development. You got to have the tools. You can't build no house without the proper tools. You know, when I was younger and I didn't know any better, we'd be outside trying to put up basketball goals. We'd get a rock and try to beat the nails into the wood. You want me to tell you how that worked? It didn't. Because the rock would break while you're hitting the nail. When all you have to do is go get a hammer. But we're trying to fix our problem with rocks. Something that wasn't designed to be a tool. So we have to have the right tools. And so Proverbs 27 and 23, and the tools are all through the Bible. But Proverbs 27 and 23 says this: be sure you know the condition of your flocks, which is the state of your finances. Give careful attention to your herds, which are your investments and accounts. Now, this is old ancient biblical wisdom. And the same way that we ought to protect and watch over our credit, he's saying that he was telling them to do the same thing back here. He said, be sure you know the condition of your flocks. Know if one is sick. Know if you got enough food to feed them. Make sure that if any have escaped, that you bring them back into your pastures. Do you see what I'm saying? Then he says, give careful attention to your herds. He said, you got to pay attention to them to know that they're doing what they're supposed to do. But every morning, I believe that you should check the state of your businesses, your investments, your credit, before checking social media. Before checking social media, you should be checking your bank account. And you say, well, I know what's in my bank. I know. No, you got to check it every day because something might slide through that I'm supposed to be going through. There may be some fees that they're charging you that they shouldn't be charging. You got to pay careful attention. You know, one of the things that I've learned, and I've developed this into my daily routine, is I have apps, and on my phone I check those apps every morning, religiously. Credit Karma, to make sure I'm watching my credit, whether it goes up or go down. Credit Karma is not the most accurate, but it's close enough. I have the Acorns investment app, where you can invest small, still invest, round off your change on your purchases and put it into the stock market. And you have a portfolio of how your investments are doing. Even though it's coins, it can grow to a great amount. And even I think their slogan is, from the acorn, the mighty oak grows. So financial institutions like the banks that I bank with, every dollar budgeting app that you can use to set up a budget, life insurance app, 401k app, asset management app. And so anything that you can view, any app that you can use to view your financial status, then you need to have that on your phone, at your fingertip. Or if not on your phone, on some type of device where you can go to it and you can check it so you will know the state of your affairs financially. And you have to be aware of what account balances are, how your investments are performing, and how your credit is moving. And some people say it costs too much to try to fix your credit. Well, if you think that it costs too much to repair your credit, then compare that to what it costs when you try to purchase something with bad credit. Outrageous interest rates, price hikes, collateral. Collateral is the worst. See, collateral is something you have to pledge as security for repayment of a loan, to be forfeited in the event of a default. See, if you default, it can cost you your house or your car. If you default, it can cause serious issues in your family. Remember, I told you credit can affect your family, your relationships, if you're not managing it properly. If you've ever experienced that, then you know it's not a good thing. For you to take out a couple of $100 or $1,000 loan on something that's worth more than that, but you had to put up some collateral, and as a result, if you can't pay it back, they come take it. Now, that damages your integrity and your dignity. If they come in to get your car because you borrowed $500 that you couldn't pay back. And I've been there, but I won't go back there. That's right. You know, but some experiences, they teach you. And so if you have bad credit, you will have to pay more than twice as much as the person who doesn't have bad credit. So what kind of dignity and integrity is it when we were put in positions where we have to suffer the consequences for not having good credit? 2 Kings 4. We've heard this story before. I've used it before, but I'm going to show you something in here that we probably haven't looked at as much or looked at in this light when we looked at this scripture. 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 1 through 7. And the scripture says this: Now there cried a certain woman of the wives of the sons of the prophets unto Elisha, saying, Your servant, my husband, is dead. And you know that your servant did fear the Lord, and the creditor is come to take unto him my 2 sons to be bondmen. So there cried a certain woman of the wives of the sons of the prophets unto Elisha. So this was a wife of a prophet. So this man was saved, speaking on God's behalf. He was leading people with the word of God. He was counseling. He was advising people with the word of God. So he had to be in good relationship with God spiritually. And he says, Your servant, my husband, is dead. So the husband died. And so she told him he's dead, and you know that your servant did fear the Lord. Now, I want you to show you 2 things right here, this contrast. Look at what comes after she said he feared the Lord. He feared the Lord, but the creditor still came to take his stuff. It don't matter how saved you are. If you don't pay your bill, they're coming to get it. Do you see what I'm saying? So credit is important. He feared the Lord. He had a great relationship with God. But the creditor was coming to take his 2 sons to be slaves, to pay off the debt, to work it off. You see how it can affect your family. So the improper use of credit will cause things to be taken from you. So they came and said, since you don't have the money, then we're going to take your sons and we're going to make them pay off the debt that your husband owed us. See, because when you die, your debt doesn't die.
That's right. That's right.
Come on now. Whoever is the same way that the inheritance gets passed, the debt gets passed too.
That's right.
And so here they still had to deal with the debt or the credit mess that he left behind after he died. It didn't go away. And Elijah said unto her, what shall I do for you? Tell me, what have you in your house? And what he did, he turned her attention from the outside to the inside. And that's what God does. While we're looking for help on the outside, he said it's really on the inside. So he turned her attention to the inside and said, what do you have in your house? And she said, your handmaid has not anything in the house except a pot of oil. Then he said, go borrow. You see how credit is still working? And these saved folks in the Old Testament. So he says, go and borrow vessels abroad of all your neighbors. Even empty vessels, borrow not a few. So credit got her in the situation, and credit was what was going to be used to get her out of the situation. But not just credit, because I want to show you there was something else that was involved with her being delivered from this situation. So she still had a good credit relationship with her neighbor. So even though, just say the bank or financial institution or whatever company it was that her husband had his credit with, that they had to deal with, she knew that she couldn't go to them because she was indebted to them already through her husband. So now she goes to her neighbors and she borrows vessels. And by borrowing these vessels, they were taking a risk on lending them to her because she was high risk, according to her credit score. And when he told him, when you will come in, you shall shut the door upon you and upon your sons, and shall pour out into all those vessels, and you shall set aside that which is full. Use what you got. So she went from him and shut the door upon her and upon her sons, who brought the vessels to her, and she poured out. And it came to pass when the vessels were full, that she said unto her son, bring me another vessel. And he said unto her, there is not a vessel more. And the oil stopped, or the oil stayed. So that means that at this point, the oil stopped pouring. Then she came and told the man of God, and he said, go sell the oil. So I want to show you something here. She went and borrowed, but she didn't borrow it just to pay off the debt that her husband owed. She became enterprising. She began to do business. She really became an entrepreneur. See, sometimes financial issues, God will allow them to get so bad that it pushes you into a place where you say, what can I do to get out of this mess? And not just get out of it, but not to get back in it again. And that's what happened. And she didn't do it by herself. She incorporated her sons. She said, no, because y'all are the ones who are going to be working it out. So you need to get in here with me. And we all need to work together. So you got to have somebody who you can work together with in your business street. That can help you formulate a plan, help you do the work, help you create whatever it is, whatever service, whatever product it is that you're going to provide. And you got to understand, she took what little she had. She thought she didn't have anything. She didn't think what she had was of value. And most believers, most black folk, don't think that what they have is of value.
That's right.
And because they don't think it's of value, or no one would buy it, or no one would pay me for it, they settle for not doing anything at all. But it took a man with a word from the Lord to come to her and tell her, ask her, what do you have? And after she said, I don't have anything, just except only. It ain't really much, but it's all we got. Well, if it's all you got, then it's all you need. And so I want to submit to you today that is it possible that I could be that man? Come on now. That have come today to tell you that you have something valuable at your house, inside of you, something that God has given you that you don't think is much, you don't think it's really, it could take off. You think that, there are other people who are more talented than me, more skilled than me, they can do it better than me, but they can't. No, they probably can do it different than you, but they can't do it better than you. So can't nobody beat you doing what you do. They might can do it differently. And is it possible that the difference that you have on your gift, on your talent, on the thing that you have, could be the thing that God will use to make your thing successful? See, what is it? Some of us are giving away the game for free. Some of us are giving away the thing that God has given us to produce provision in our lives. We're giving it away for free. Some of us are great talkers and orators, but you just use it at your leisure. Some of us can cook well. Some of us can sew well. Some of us can do this well and do that well. But we just do it casually, but we don't try to get paid for it. And he told her, he said, go in there and do this. Gave her instructions on what to do. And that's all I'm here to do today. I'm just trying to give you instructions on what to do. I'm giving you what the Lord has given me. And so they poured out until everything was full, had no more vessels. And then look at what he says. Go sell it. He said, now the first thing you want to do is pay off your debt. Because you got to get out of this situation. That's right. She had enough to pay the debt and live off the rest. Not for a day, but for a lifetime. So she had to be enterprising with her credit. And she had to create something significant and sustainable. And so the improper use of credit put the family in bondage to the consequences of debt. And the proper use of credit delivered the family from the bondage of the consequences of debt. And I know unexpected things in financial crisis can happen to us all. But I'm talking today about the situations that we can control by being proactive and using integrity and proper judgment. Integrity and dignity has to be at the core and foundation of the individual so that it can be transferred over into business. If you lack integrity and dignity in your personal life, you will inevitably lack it in your business. And it will affect your livelihood.